I want to crack the code of Pi Network. So I brought on the co-founders here, Chang Dao of Dr. Chang Dao and Dr. Nicholas Kokalis of Pi Network. Welcome to the Crypto 101 podcast, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce. Thanks for having us.
So you guys are based out of Palo Alto, is that right? Up in Silicon Valley?
Yes.
That's right.
Nice. And why start Pi Network? What was the grand vision that really got you guys to say, you know what, we're going to dedicate the rest of our lives to this project?
Well, Pi Network was started combining all our academic and personal interest. I mean, Nicholas is a hardcore computer scientist with expertise in distributed system, which is a precursor to one big component of blockchain. And I myself is a social scientist. So with the second half of my PhD doing human-computer interaction, that's where Nicholas and I collaborated on multiple research projects, studying how to build computer systems to scale and to be used easily by humans. The time that, when we were at Stanford exploring with the students, building decentralized applications, we noticed that in the industry, there is a big problem of a lot of technology, but there is no good enough social network in order to build decentralized applications that allows a typical required process, such as user iterations. So this is combining our interests of distributed system, human-computer interaction, social computing, and also the excitement about building a large-scale human movement. This is where we build Pi Network.
So is Pi Network like, it's a digital currency, but it's also a social network, if you will, and so people could interact. Could you kind of walk us through, if somebody were to download the Pi Network application, what would they be expecting?
It's a digital currency in the sense that you can mine it, and you can mine it on the mobile phone directly. As part of the mining process, you contribute to the consensus algorithm. And it is also the entry point to the Pi ecosystem, where you can see and use different Pi utilities.
Fantastic. And so what are some of the popular applications that you've seen people develop on the Pi Network, or maybe with the Pi cryptocurrency?
Well, to start, there is a very important step for us to migrate our social network to our mainnet blockchain, and the key is called KYC. And one application of the Pi cryptocurrency is that people can pay Pi to get their verified in order for them to migrate to the mainnet. And this is a very strong utility in the sense that the native currency Pi is used to pay for real human labor that result in valuable work in the world.
And so people need to, right now they have like testnet, and now there's a transition to the mainnet, and in order to get onto mainnet, you need to KYC. Can you kind of tell people maybe a little bit about why people need to KYC? And for those who don't know, who are listening, what is KYC?
So KYC is generally known as a know your customer process, and a lot of traditional businesses require KYC to, for compliance reasons, to know your customer, to know who you are providing the service to, especially financial related services generally is required. And Pi Network doing KYC is, for one, of course, as much as compliant as possible. Second is also for our own policy. For example, in Pi, we require one person per account. This means that this is one of the defense mechanisms of our network to prevent fake accounts migrating to the mainnet.
We're having this KYC solution. We needed to build it in-house for multiple reasons. Scalability is a big one of them. And scalability not only in the sense that we have a large network of people that spans across almost every country or region in the world. And we are talking about tens of millions of people. And we couldn't find any KYC solution out there that could have solutions for every single country's IDs. Number one, about scalability, but also number two of scalability is that there's no currently KYC still requires some human intervention. So there's a lot of machine learning and AI algorithms that are helping with liveness detection and with identification of the IDs and understanding what's on the ID documents, but it still needs some human support. Any KYC solution we talk to could only scale to thousands of KYCs per day, a small amount of KYC per day. But in our case, with such a vast network, which we are preparing for the next billion users, we couldn't scale with just the thousands per day. For example, we did our first million KYCs in a single month.
Wow.
That wouldn't be possible. And there were almost 500,000 people involved in the process of verifying the first million or 2 million people who KYC.
So that's like a tremendously large number, especially when we talk about crypto sort of networks. And you look at any of the DeFi apps, for instance, they have a few thousand users every single day. You look at some of these decentralized metaverses, not pointing any fingers, not naming any names. Everybody's doing a great job. There's just not that many users on a day-to-day basis. NFTs, the volumes are down 99%. My question to you is, man, how did you guys, grow to get millions and millions of users? And what are like the metrics that you guys have? Like you have 1 million users, you have 10 million users, and how did you get all these users?
Well, it comes down to the unique strategy of ours, and the core strategy is accessibility. And accessibility has threefold, I guess. One is financial accessibility. In Pi, everybody can mine for free. You don't need to pay anything to enter. Another accessibility is knowledge accessibility. We build our UI to be really intuitive. For example, the mining component, I can mine on the phone. So you don't necessarily need the computer science knowledge about setting up a node in order to mine. And then there is also the system design accessibility. That is, in addition to people find it easy to mine, they also find it easy to use. So all these factors contribute to the accessibility. And also the strategy of accessibility also have the result of more fair and more widely distribution of the cryptocurrency. So that makes us one of the most widely distributed. We are now at over 35 million engaged members and distributed in almost every country and region in the world, over 233 countries and regions of the world. So that's also ties into why our KYC process needs comprehensive solution, because it's like every region.
Yeah, it's got to have a global sort of approach as opposed to country by country. That's fantastic. And, so Pi Network, there's a cryptocurrency, there's a network, there's applications, there's millions and millions of users. What's next? We have the mainnet, but what are you guys trying to accomplish with mainnet? So
a very special period, our strategy design is called enclosed mainnet. So our mainnet went live last December. We started our mass KYC, I think the first quarter. And then we are also in the process of migrating all these millions of people. Next is basically after migrating all these millions of people to the mainnet, we're building the enclosed network. Enclosed network means everything can be transacted within Pi, but cannot have external connectivity yet. The special design for this is to focus our attention to build utility and real utility without too much noises outside of the network. And of course, we acknowledge there are certain applications can only build with external connectivity, but there are internal enclosed type of utilities can be nurtured and built. For example, new type of social applications can be inside the enclosed environment to get it into the ecosystem to be a little more mature before we go to we call open network.
Okay, interesting. So somebody downloads the app, they're mining on their phone, or are they staking, or is it like they're doing some type of hash or something like that?
Okay, so your question is how does the Pi mining work, I guess, your question, right?
Yeah.
So mining, as people traditionally understand, is in the context of proof of work. When people think of mining, it's a lot of electricity, a lot of hashing, okay? So that's because proof of work requires nodes to spend electricity to solve mathematical puzzles to reach a consensus. So it comes down to the type of consensus algorithm a protocol uses. Pi relies on federated Byzantine agreement, in which the consensus is reached not through burning electricity, but through a quorum rely on a trust graph to rise from the trust graph. And inside the quorum, nodes send messages to each other, just like votes, in regard to whether a transaction is true or fraudulent. And and help that reach consensus. Just by my description of how this mechanism works, these days any laptop can send messages to other computers. So the scale of the requirement for electricity is no comparison to the level that required by proof of work. This is the fundamental reason why Pi mining in the first place doesn't require electricity. Now, as I mentioned, there needs to be a trust graph. So the mobile miners are actually contributing their trust relationships to form this trust graph that can feed the consensus algorithm to reach consensus. So the actual running of the blockchain, the heavy lifting of actually running, is still on our Pi nodes, which is computer nodes. So, but the required efforts of our Pi nodes is different from the Bitcoin nodes. And then they're also rewarded in Pi in conjunction with the mobile miners. So in the broader sense of the mining is that individuals or nodes contribute to a consensus algorithm for it to reach consensus. In return, they receive rewards of that protocol.
You guys envision Pi Network ever interacting, or Pi Network users ever interacting with their Pi tokens on other chains, right? Is it going to be this cross-chain future with bridges or atomic swaps, or is it kind of going to be maybe like one blockchain to rule them all? What's your guys' view?
Well, the sky is the limit. We are not here to enclose the world in just one technology. We are always open to collaborate with other technologies. We believe in open standards and open networks. We see what happens with platforms when they become too enclosed, and the power that comes with that, and also the impacts that they have to consumers. There is even in the news lately about new recent policies that the various application platforms, mobile application platforms, are constantly changing to enforce different rules. So we are always open. We expect that there's benefit in collaboration between platforms, of course.
Yeah, so speaking of that, like I heard the other day, Apple kind of came out with these new rules about any sort of crypto transactions that happen through their app, like an app that was downloaded through the Apple Store, like they're supposed to now be collecting 30%. Have you guys heard about this?
We did,
roughly, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the world is still in a phase, including, tech giants or regulators still figure out how crypto can fit into the existing economy. And that is the process as a crypto builder also need to be patient and follow and then adjust in order to, fit in at the same time create innovation.
Yeah, that's where open standards help. That's where open standards help. Being more accessible through the web, through technologies that are open helps push the ecosystem forward.
Yeah, I was going to say basically the same thing. Like they're kind of pushing people away from mobile and back to web. There could be this renaissance of like these open web-based applications as opposed to just like, mobile first and mobile only applications. So it'll be interesting to see.
We several years ago we made a pretty unexpected move. We are all about user experience and producing a better user experience for our users. But at some point we did something counterintuitive to user experience, which is we had the Pi app and we created the Pi browser. That is counterintuitive because it asks people to install two apps, so it's more complex. And that was several years before this recent announcements. So in a sense, we have prepared ourselves with what we think it would make sense to do, to rely more on open technologies, web browsers, and things that don't completely enclose or rely on single entities to have a single failure point in the whole process.
Are not limited only to one type of platform. Basically, we also have a testnet, or we also have a desktop, application. So.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
So many different access points for the application.
Yes.
And redundancy points to work on the web, to work on different infrastructures and technologies.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your guys' experience as co-founders of, a huge network through the bear market, because, I'm curious, just do numbers kind of start to slow down? Does work morale at the office kind of go down, or what's your guys' experience as a bear market builder?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, bear market is not necessarily a bad thing for the industry. The bear market get rid of all the craziness and the noises, and force people to focus attention on, what is real, what is really useful, what is the real use cases of crypto. So I think this is the phase for real builders, and focus our attention to more substance. So bringing substance to the industry to get ready for the next wave of bull market. And as for Pi, we're basically shielded from that, especially because of our design of the enclosed network.
Yeah, so the enclosed network by construction is shielded from any market conditions. So. For example, this KYC application that we have where people need to spend 1 Pi to KYC themselves, and that Pi is split across all the people who are helping you to get your KYC validated. During the bull market, it cost 1 Pi to KYC yourself. During the crash, it still cost 1 Pi, and now during the bear market, it still costs 1 Pi. So it was completely unaffected.
But how much is 1 Pi in dollar terms?
No, we don't. We don't have that, and because that is unknown for the current period. Yeah.
Well, and one thing to consider here, unrelated to the market conditions, is that as the base mining rate has been decreasing internally in the Pi blockchain, and it used to take you about 2 days to mine 1 Pi, and now it takes about 3 days to mine 1 Pi. So it is possible that down the line that the price for the KYC can go down to people who have to pay less than 1 Pi, but completely unrelated to the market.
1 Pi is attached to the value of all the labor people spend on validating this application.
So you can't take the Pi out and send it to Coinbase and cash out. You can't. Okay,
yeah, that's the point of the enclosed network.
Enclosed network, yes.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And so, like, during the bear market, do you guys continue to see just as many people mine, or do people kind of lose interest and stop mining a little bit?
No, we don't see any big difference.
Completely unaffected.
Yeah.
And what is their incentive to mine? If the Pi network tokens don't have any monetary value, what's kind of the incentive for people to continue mining? Is it just because it's fun and there's a community and there's an experience behind it? Or because I always viewed, like, the incentive for people to stake or people to mine is because they could earn an income from it.
Yeah, I think it's more of like we have the vision of building a utility-based ecosystem, and to really crack utility, it's not Rome is not built in 1 day. And to build a real ecosystem, you need a lot of infrastructure, and you need a lot of attempts to try what it will stick and what is the real use cases. And along the journey, in addition to mining, we also educate our community about the way to achieve long-term vision. And also, in essence, our network is free to join to start, and more fair distribution, unlike many other conventional way in crypto that the tokens are sold. We never sold any token, and 80% are for the community and the network. So it's basically a more fair participation into this ecosystem, to build the ecosystem together. It's not just we are not just we provide the thing for the community. It's all the core team is only one participant of the network, and every user and member and developer have their responsibility to contribute to the network to build. And this network and ecosystem cannot be built in 1 day. And that's the mentality, and that's the spirit of Pi community.
How long do you think it'll take? Is it like a 10-year, maybe a 20-year plan for this to kind of come to fulfill the grand vision, or is it closer than that?
I think it's hard to say, but for the next 3 or 5 years, I think even for the general crypto industry, is to figure out and overcome a lot of obstacles for the industry as a whole, and obstacles for a specific project. For the industry itself, it has knowledge obstacle. How do people perceive cryptocurrency and the industry? There's a lot of disinformation and misinformation. How do we remove those? And then there is also the regulation obstacle, meaning that we need more clear rules. There is also the application obstacle. What the meaning is that we need to figure out how crypto or blockchain based service can integrate with everyday people's life to create actual use cases and useful services, so that people use it for its intrinsic value, not necessarily as only an investment tool. So they are using.
What would some of those applications or use cases be? Like if you could put that into some concrete examples.
Yeah. So one direction that Pi Network and I think the industry are trying to can have innovation. In addition to all these DeFi, the very native blockchain applications, is the social applications that integrate with cryptocurrency. I'm not just referring to NFTs or games, which is a booming vertical of the crypto space, but also like using cryptocurrency to integrate of designing social applications, not just copycat of the Web2 type of applications, but using the incentive and disincentive systems of a cryptocurrency. Now you're at the time you can use the economic mechanism inside your app logic to create better content, to curate more high signal content than just in the information silo of machine learning. And you can also use this cryptocurrency as a mechanism to motivate and mobilize and leverage the crowd wisdom. Just like our KYC application is an example of leveraging the power of the crowd in order to scale certain services. Like this type of applications is, I think, for the next 3 or 5 years that the industry can explore, and will have a true innovation instead of a copycat of Web2 or just very finance related, and to explore different type of verticals of applications and utilities. And this is what Pi is trying to do, given that we are already at the advantage of having a big social network to start with.
Yeah. So what do you kind of think of Elon Musk buying Twitter? And I just asked this because he tweeted out and was talking about he goes, myself buying Twitter kind of expedites the timeline for X, the Everything app. And the Everything app is supposed to have a crypto wallet integrated with it, and work and play and social and all this kind of stuff along with payments. And it kind of sounds like that could be maybe even a competitor to Pi Network. Is that how you guys think about it?
We don't see things as competitor. And this is so new. This is so new industry. Every type of innovation is welcome. And also the fact that, I don't know what Elon Musk thinks about this, but the fact that he, have Twitter and then also interested in crypto as demonstrated. The fact that these two, social network and also crypto, merged together seems to be in line with what I was describing just now. Like in the social app, vector, there might be innovations using cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and in a sense, the strategy he proposed makes sense. So he said that we need to take Twitter off the public market so that we don't have these external dependencies where Twitter may want to take some non-conventional, non-consensus moves, which if you do it as a public company, you have to look at how the market price of the stock of Twitter would go. So removing those external interferences, then you can try to focus on innovation that will be a long-term innovation. On the short term, if it was maybe loses money, less advertising, something less about the company, but in the long term it creates a better product. And that's, I think, what he was trying to do there. In a sense, this is similar to our strategy for enclosed network. So we have the enclosed network right now to completely eliminate all the possibilities of people trying to use Pi for quick success of X, of Y, of Z, and focus on long-term utility, long-term usefulness for the world.
Mm-hmm. And all the
I love it.
Yeah, and all these social applications is not something that you try it once, it goes very viral. It takes so many attempts. That's what I meant by attempts. So many iterations, so many different versions, how to integrate it. And the more developers join the space to give more attempts, the higher chance the whole industry are going to actually find the real utility that every day you hear drivers talking about, I'm using this thing, crypto-based service for this social experience instead of just only on exchanges.
Yeah, no, it reminds me of like I watched this documentary actually about Elon Musk and like starting SpaceX, and he iterated many times on the rocket ship to have consumer flight, but he blew up the first 3 rockets on accident, right? Like so nothing's ever perfect the first time. But if you want to have true long-term sustainable innovation, I also love the analogy of him taking Twitter off the public market, because the things that he'll do to that company after he purchases and go private, he will have if he still had public board members and public shareholders to a fiduciary obligation to them, the experiments that he would run and the innovation, while it might, affect the stock price negatively, it could actually be long-term, a net benefit. And it's pretty clear that that's what he's going to be doing. He's going to be doing a lot of experimental, fun, innovative things, a lot like what you guys are doing with the Pi network. And so I'm excited to see how everything turns out. I'm excited to download it and get Pi mining myself here. So guys, I really appreciate you coming on to the Crypto 101 podcast. If anybody who is listening is interested, they want to learn how to mine Pi, maybe get involved in the ecosystem, where can we direct them to? And we could link some stuff into the show notes.
Minepi.com.
That's easy. Minepi.com.
Yeah.
How'd you guys land on the name Pi? P-I 3.14, right?
Yes. Oh, I guess we're all geeks. So yeah, we love math, and Pi is such a universal concept. Everyone understands. It also represents a circle that the uniting people together. Inclusiveness goes into the concept. And also, Nicholas has a Greek descent. It's a Greek letter.
Easy to type it on my keyboard.
It's easy to type it on my keyboard. Love it. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. We look forward to bringing you guys back on again to the Crypto 101 podcast when you have some more exciting updates.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks.
Hello, Dr. Nicholas. Thank you for jumping on the Crypto Kid podcast. So what's your background and how did you get into cryptocurrency?
Hi, and thanks for having me. I was actually involved in the space before even the invention of Bitcoin, and that was actually due to my research interests at the university. So I'm a computer scientist. I did my PhD and postdoc at Stanford University, and my interests are in distributed systems, which is essentially what a blockchain is. The precursor to blockchain existed many years before, and social computing, which is related to human-computer interaction and crowdsourcing. So as part of my master's thesis, I created a framework for writing smart contracts on fault-tolerant distributed systems. And of course, back then it wasn't called smart contracts and it wasn't called the blockchain, but it was similar concepts. And then as part of my postdoc, I introduced and taught a class at Stanford University at the computer science department there, the CS359B, which was teaching students how to design decentralized applications on blockchain. And now in this class, students created and deployed multiple functional working prototypes of decentralized applications, but they all got stuck in having people to use them. And that's mostly because many reasons, but user experience related reasons on blockchain back then. But one core blocking point was that before anyone can use any of those apps, they needed to acquire cryptocurrency to pay for the gas fees. Now, at Stanford is also where I got to meet my other founder of Pi, Chen Yao Fan, where she also did her PhD there as well. And it's our academic career and personal interests that is what truly led to create the Pi network, which we founded at the end of 2018.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And hey, I got a chance to watch a lecture of yours on YouTube, you explaining how blockchain technology works. There's just so much to learn about it. And I really appreciate you taking on that challenge in developing young minds to get involved with the future, especially something that has to do with money governance and law later on down.
Yeah, thanks for saying this. I really try when I try to explain something, I try to look at what is the audience. So when I am teaching to CS students, the audience is more technical, but when I'm trying to explain something that is for the general population, I'm trying to start from really ground zero.
Keep pushing, man. You're doing a great job. Now, we're going to talk about Pi Network. And what is unique about Pi Network compared to other blockchains coming out and other cryptocurrencies? What makes you guys different?
Yeah, so so Pi Network is essentially a massive open community with over 35 million engaged members. And this community is powered by Pi, which is the world's most widely distributed cryptocurrency. So this platform that we're putting together is essentially creating a robust, especially accessible ecosystem for three types of people: for users, for developers who are building apps, and for merchants who are using apps. And what makes it different? I would say that we followed a number of non-consensus strategies compared to other cryptocurrencies. Like, for example, we didn't just focus on solving a technical problem. Sometimes you hear things like transactions per second and this and that technical solutions. But we also focused on solving the human problems. So having people engaged, having people on the platform to begin with. Another thing that we did differently is that our platform is not just focusing on blockchain native applications and nothing else, meaning like DeFi, NFT. Of course, these are possible on Pi, but this is not the only thing that the platform is focuses. It focuses on all types of applications that solve needs for mainstream audience. Let me see. Another different thing that we did slightly different here is that we focused on accessibility and inclusivity through essentially trying to reduce any kind of barriers for people to participate, such as financial barriers and technical barriers. So financially, we don't ask them to pay for anything to acquire Pi. In fact, it's not even possible for someone to do that. You can only mine it on the platform. And technical barriers, they don't need to be computer scientists or have complicated mining rigs at home that are allowing them to mine. All they need is a mobile phone and participate using.
Amazing. Yeah, there's like so many mining farms out there, and it's crazy how much it can damage the ecosystem, in my opinion. And we definitely need more room for improvement in protecting the environment, and that's a great way. And plus, you literally have a computer in the palm of your hand. So, and more people, the phone is so easy to use, a kid could navigate it. So that's just, you're gonna get like 10-year-olds learning how to mine cryptocurrencies and then them making more money than their parents. It's amazing. So what will the KS or KYC solutions help the pioneers? How will it help the pioneers?
So how will it help? And first of all, Pi is from the beginning, we're building it as a fully compliant platform. We're here. Our identities are known, mm-hmm. And we wanted it to, as part of compliance, these services, these networks need to do something called KYC. So KYC is Know Your Customer, stands for Know Your Customer, and it was initially used in traditional businesses. So in this case, in a blockchain, the word customer doesn't make a lot of sense, but I guess we're going with it. So the need for KYC is for compliance purposes, but also for the ability to have a more valuable ecosystem. So if you remember from the maybe what is it now, 10, 20 years ago, when social networks started existing, there was a bunch of social networks before Facebook that were all composed of fake users and fake accounts, and every cat and dog had their own profile on the social network. And then Facebook came along, and it was the first one that was saying, no, we want real users. We want real people, real faces, real names. That was unheard of on the internet before that, because everybody was still afraid of putting the real name on the internet. And yet what happened is that it changed, it shifted the whole world's mentality, and people started using the internet for a lot more useful purposes. In the same thing now with blockchain. The first generation was, oh, let's use it for anonymity, but that didn't work out very well, and it doesn't produce as useful utility as it would have. And now the second generation is the one that is based on real identity, and actually this is how you can you're able to create true useful applications on top of blockchains. Now Pi created its own KYC solution. I'm happy to tell you about it as well. But
yeah, I remember when Facebook was out, and the way that they would weed out the fake users is you had to message like 10 people to make sure that you're actually real. It was just like such a process, and it was kind of annoying. I didn't like it, but when Facebook came out, it was just so much easier and actually better. So I think blockchain will be better in the future. And as more people get involved with it and start understanding the technology, you'll see a lot more use cases in it. And what was I going to say? Yeah, that's pretty much it. And so why was accessibility an important factor for developing Pi Network?
well, accessibility is very important. Any successful currency that wants to support a real ecosystem with utilities relies on a large social network, because in order for you to have true utility, you need to have many people recognize the cryptocurrency and are able to own it, and they are willing to transact goods and services with that currency. So the size of a crypto network essentially needs to hit an inflection point for real utilities and markets to form. And that's that after this inflection point, we will be able to have network effects.
Okay. Yeah, I just remembered what I was going to say earlier. Blockchain technology, back to that, blockchain technology is like the internet in the 90s. Yeah. So that's what I just wanted to say. And you also made a great point with the accessibility. And what does this mean for the future of mining on mobile phones?
So I think that in order for you to have a useful cryptocurrency, you can't think 2009. So Bitcoin was great because it proved to the world that cryptocurrencies exist, and it is possible to have a decentralized ledger that is maintaining an accurate, essentially accurately maintains the balances of different people. Because before that, you would need a centralized bank to tell you what your true balance is. And with Bitcoin, the proof of concept of a decentralized bank essentially is possible. But that was 2009, and people were using computers, and it was a little slow, and it's consuming a lot of energy, as we all say, and its block takes 10 minutes. But today, if you want to have a cryptocurrency that is functional and useful to everyday people, it needs to be on mobile, and it needs to be more faster and more accessible. So to answer your question, I think that it is the future. Mobile, it has to be mobile.
Mm-hmm. Just like the metaverse. Pretty soon. Do you teach class from home?
I my primary job is building Pi network, but it just happens that every year since I left Stanford, I have been invited to co-instruct one of the blockchain classes over at Stanford. It's not official, but it just every year it just happens that they invite me again. So I teach the technical lectures in that class, and other instructors teach non-technical aspects.
Okay, okay. I like it. I like it. Now, what are the stages of verification? I know sometimes it could be a little bit complex with the authenticator, and it can be kind of tedious to some people. So
The stages of authentication. Can you maybe help me understand your question a little more?
like the like how to access the cryptocurrencies or the
Oh,
coins.
so the Pi, are you talking
Yeah,
about Pi?
yeah,
Mhm.
to like how do I say, to make sure the person that's actually accessing it is actually them, not and not some hacker from across the other side of the world.
Yeah, there are two questions here. I guess one is about the user and one is about the consensus algorithm. I think you're more interested about the user. So the so Pi has two levels.
Mhm.
So first of all, for the past few years, people have been mining it through a mobile app. So on that mobile app, they have been accumulating Pi as, let's say, um, tokens, and these are not these are the tokens that are going to be migrated into the mainnet blockchain, and has been migrating. We have actually already migrated over 2.5 something million people into the mainnet blockchain. So for these two systems, there is essentially two different ways of authenticating yourself. So for the mobile app system, we use a traditional username, password, or you can have Facebook sign in and a few other Apple sign in and a few other ways to authenticate yourself. Now, for the actual blockchain, which is what happens after you KYC and your balance is migrated from the app into the blockchain, for the actual blockchain, we use non-custodial wallets. That's a mouthful, but for the audience who may not know what this means, it means that the users will have to remember a passphrase, and that passphrase is enough to fully authenticate themselves. And no one else knows that passphrase, to the point that if someone were to hack it, theoretically, without stealing it from you using a virus, if they were to actually hack it and hack SATO 56, it would take them 100 billion years to do it using computational methods. Of course, they can try to deceive you, to give them your passphrase, which is a different problem. It's a user experience problem, but in terms of cryptography, it's very strong. So essentially, the proper way all cryptocurrencies are supposed to do it is through non-custodial wallets. So the users have to remember this passphrase. Now, because this passphrase is a little difficult to remember, we ask the users to save it on somewhere safe, and we help them use the phone's biometric features, such as the thumbprint or the facial scan, to essentially load up this passphrase using their phone's algorithms. And there are some phones, depending on companies, I guess you can tell that these days most phones are doing a pretty good job at securing those data.
The simplicity of it is very important, and I hope this encourages people to jump into it and not be afraid of memorizing a phrase. Just get into it. It's not that hard, and the more you learn about it, the easier it'll become. So
the good thing about the Pi, if you want me to add this, is that the whole ecosystem is built around the program we call the Pi browser. So it's like a web browser, but for Pi applications. and you can access the ecosystem there. And one of the applications of this Pi browser is the Pi wallet. So essentially, we have created a system where the various Pi apps can talk to each other and the Pi wallet, and they are able to interconnect. So let's say you are on a gaming app and you want to spend a few tokens to continue where you left off. So you say, I want to do it. You push a button, then it pulls the Pi wallet in front of you. Then you touch your thumb. It asks you if you are sure that you want to submit this amount of Pi to that specific app. You say yes or no, and then Pi is transmitted to the app, and you are directed back to where you were. And this whole thing connects together, making it as seamless as possible for the end user. So even though these concepts, cryptocurrencies and blockchain and all these things are sometimes could be very complicated for non-technical audience, we're trying to make it as simple as possible.
Now, would that be the trust graph working with the ecosystem?
Now, the trust graph is something core to our consensus algorithm. So it's the way that Pi works is it essentially creates a trust graph of people who are considered to be on the mainnet in a way. And if you there is a mathematical proof and a paper that is explaining this, which is about 20 pages long. But if you're trying to think of it very, very intuitively, if the Pi network was it wasn't the 35 million people plus we have, but it was just me, you, and a couple of your friends. And the way it works at Pi is that we get to select 3 to 5 people we know and trust, literally from our contact list. And this is for us, our security circle. And the combination of all the security circles creates the trust graph. So if in the network, it was me pointing at you and 2 other people, and you were pointing at me and some of them, and they were pointing at you, and we were pointing at each other. Essentially, if someone were to come and create 1,000 fake accounts, then those fake accounts wouldn't be able to affect the decisions that we make or where we allocate our trust. Because in order for them to modify anything in our decisions, they would need to convince us to stop pointing at each other and start pointing at them.
Okay. Now, you have a robust active member users, and it's 35 million plus, and that's pretty impressive, I would say. How did you get that many people involved into the Pi network in itself? I can't wrap my mind around it. It's amazing.
Yeah, so it's about being clear on the value propositions and trying to create a true utility, trying to provide a safe and fair ecosystem for everyone. So essentially, it's about being simple to use, simple to develop, accessible, basically no financial or technical barriers to begin, and creating network effects.
All right. Now, what is your target audience for Pi Network?
Right, that's a very good question. So I think that in order for us to create anything that is that achieves mass adoption, and I think that's what the blockchain industry needs as a whole, and we all would like to collaborate on this. In order for the blockchain industry to achieve mass adoption, we shouldn't be only focusing on one small audience, like one specific segment. We should focus on everyday people. It's good and it's easy to get excited, a small group of tech enthusiasts or crypto people. And of course, it's necessary to begin from somewhere. We can begin from there, but we need to create interfaces that are accessible by everyone. So I would say, everyone, even our parents and our kids and
Believe me, I've been trying, and my mom and dad they think I'm crazy. They really do. They're just like, go get a job, start working, which I do, but I'm just like, but this is the future, mom and dad, you should get into it, especially while it's cheap. And it's just, they can't wrap their mind around it. They're just,
maybe we should send them a Pi invitation code and do the experiment to tell us if they will manage to do it.
Oh, I definitely will. Send it over, and that challenge is on.
All right.
So, does the bear market clean out the landscape, I mean?
That's right. Yes. So in the crypto space, there is a lot of noises, and also there is a lot of projects maybe that are in for the wrong reasons, maybe trying to have some quick effects without paying attention to long-term value. So it's usually the case that long-term valuable projects are usually started or basically persevered during low times. Yeah, because anything that gets very quick results can also very quickly decay. So we saw some of that in the previous months or the beginning of this period.
I agree, and it just shows who the real enthusiasts are. Also, I personally like the bear market. It's just something I like talking more about it when times are bad, just because I know when times are good, people are just going to be like, hey, you know what, Sonny, or crypto kid, you were right, or doctor, you were right, at school, or something like, or your peers, or somebody that you were trying to convince, or persuade.
There's something I like to, it's about going to conferences. So when the crypto space is very hot, then you go to conferences and there's so many people there, and the types of conversations sometimes you're having are very shallow. But when times are a little more smaller, then you tend to meet and discuss and have a lot more challenging conversations.
Exactly, and you have to have the answers for them, and sometimes you don't, because you're continuously learning about and going into rabbit holes with blockchain technology, and there's just so many use cases, like for identity, healthcare, and so much more. The supply chain too. So when is the mainnet dropping for Pi Network?
Well, technically, we are already on mainnet. So we launched it officially back in December of 2021. But Pi has done one other thing that is non-consensus. You asked me about this question earlier, and there's so many non-consensus things, is we created the concept of enclosed mainnet and open mainnet. So we're currently on the enclosed mainnet, which means that the real blockchain is out there. We are in the process of performing KYC on the members and migrating their balances essentially over to the enclosed mainnet. During the enclosed mainnet period, it is not allowed to connect the Pi blockchain with any other blockchain or external systems. And during this period, it gives us time to do a few things, such as migrating all the members, as I said, over to the mainnet, continue building utility for the platform. It allows us to have more developers test their applications, and being able to do all that without any external noises or distractions, essentially. And it's an example, like, for example, the KYC solution we created was one of the Pi applications that we built on top of our own platform. And in order for someone to KYC themselves, they need to pay 1 Pi. And that 1 Pi is then distributed to everyone who is helping with their KYC. So there is both AI algorithms, as with every KYC solution, but when the AI algorithms need help from humans, then these humans are coming from the same network, so it's self-bootstrapping itself, and that's happening even during the enclosed period. Yeah, so the answer is that we are technically on mainnet already. It's called enclosed mainnet, and at some point we are going to move to the open network.
Thank you for clarifying that. You answered a lot of questions that I asked for people that have been watching YouTube videos like me and bringing out their curiosities. So definitely appreciate that. Any last words before we close? Like, what's next? What's next for Pi Network?
So as I mentioned earlier, we recently announced this KYC solution, which has completed more than 3 million members right now have done their KYC, and that essentially is I think the largest blockchain migration in cryptocurrency history out there. So going forward, we want to continue this KYC and migration. We got a lot more members to accommodate and migrate to mainnet. So that's one thing. We need to continue building the ecosystem during the enclosed period. And that's basically by building more infrastructure needed and enabling utilities to be built by the community itself. So we are, this weekend, actually, we are joining 3 hackathons at schools at Berkeley, Harvard, and Cornell. We are sponsoring tracks over there, so we may have some students building some Pi applications during those hackathons and initiatives like this for utility building. And finally, we are also building some utilities ourselves, including on the user side, meaning that end user applications people can use, but also on the infrastructure side, such as we have a brainstorm application where people can go and brainstorm and create Pi apps. In fact, in the past, there were more than 10,000 ideas that were proposed in this platform, and we are improving it. And other things like this, such as we have a translation app, which is currently used by some translation task force that we have for many languages, that people from the platform are translating themselves our interfaces. So in the future, this internal app that we have, we're going to make it public so that the other application developers can also use it to translate their own applications. That's it for us. Building.
I'm honored to have you on the show, and it's been a pleasure of mine. I hope you had as much fun as I did on this. And yeah, man, I wish you the best of luck with your endeavors, Doctor. And
thanks for having me.
Anytime.
It was indeed fun.
All right. So have a good night, sir.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.